Welcome back to the AI Ripple Effect podcast, everybody. Today we're joined by Nick Jarvis, who's the president and co-owner of Pinnacle Logistics. So welcome to the podcast, Nick.
Hi, thanks, Adrian. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what Pinnacle Logistics does and some of the customers that you serve?
We were kind of founded on serving the furniture and mattress segment, and it wasn't really intentional. It just kind of happened by accident because the furniture and mattress area in logistics, it has a lot of really tough shipments and a lot of interesting challenges that come along the way. And I think that particular area is not super well served by the behemoths in logistics today, the big name brands that everybody knows, mainly because with furniture and mattresses, it's big, bulky product that doesn't easily fit into truckload and LTL networks always. It's not usually palletized. So there's a lot of challenges with that commodity. And so we just started developing products and modes of transportation that really helped those types of companies. But I would say today, now our focus is more on LTL transportation, so palletized LTL, as well as multi-stop truckload.
Okay. And so what was the trigger point of you setting up Pinnacle in the first place? Was it just had a light bulb moment or what was it?
No, so I was running a truckload division for an agency of a much larger company, and it was Volition Logistics, and they were an agency of Global Trans, and Volition Logistics sold to Global Trans. I actually got my start in logistics working at Global Trans headquarters. For me, there was a lot of nuance that went into it, but basically I didn't want to go back to working for Global Trans. And when they got purchased, me and my now two partners, we left and started our own. And that's how Pinnacle was born.
Really interesting. And generally in logistics, but also in your specialized niche within logistics, what are the biggest trends that you're seeing out there at the moment?
I would say everyone's focused on cost reduction, and I'm trying to focus on the other side of the equation, which is increasing value. Rather than focusing on cost down through outsourcing and AI, I'm more focused on how do we provide a better experience to the customer? How do we provide more value to the customer? Yes, if there's some cost efficiencies that come along the way, great, but I'm much more focused on increasing the value side of the equation than decreasing cost.
How are you enacting that strategy to focus on value?
I think it's about opening up bandwidth to be able to focus on things that are value added. If you asked any freight broker how they could add more value to their customers, they would have a lot of answers for you. There's no shortage of things that you could do that would be better. It's just, do you have the bandwidth to do them? And is it profitable to do them, right? If you told me that, for example, would it be better if I checked on every single shipment every 5 minutes and knew exactly where it was, and if there was any little hair out of place on that shipment, I was going to tell the customer immediately. Nobody could argue that wouldn't be better than what you're currently doing. But it's also not profitable to staff to do that. And that's where the use of AI and technology comes in to hopefully notify you of those things.
Absolutely. I was going to say, between that balance between profitability and value, there's got to be an automation catalyst that will help in that equation, I guess.
For sure. But automation and AI both require data, and they require accurate data. That's the thing that most people skip over, especially in logistics, because there are a couple of key places where I think there's going to be really significant breakthroughs. Things like healthcare, things like in law. Those are areas where the outcomes are very well documented. Everything is documented. It's all digitized. There's so much data in those fields. And now, granted, you come to logistics, there's a ton of data. As a brokerage, you can want to have all the accurate data in the world, and you can train your staff as the best trained staff in the world on keeping accurate data. But then if the trucking companies aren't feeding you the correct data at the right time, then there's not a whole lot you can do with it. I'll give you a great example. We do a lot of LTL shipments, and in LTL, there's maybe 100 trucking companies that do it. There's probably more, but we're set up with 94 of them. And then as far as like big trucking companies, there's really 25 that do the vast majority of the LTL in the country. Out of those 25, some of them, I'd say a handful of them, are really good about getting tracking updates on their website and via their API into our system. But then a lot of them, you have no idea when your shipment's even out for delivery. It doesn't say it on their website. It doesn't say it in the API updates that come across to our system. And so how do you find out? You find out by calling the terminal and asking them if it's out for delivery. And then even if it's out for delivery, okay, but people don't want to just know it's out for delivery. We're in an age of Amazon now where I know when the $10 wallet that I ordered on Amazon is 8 stops away at my neighbor John's house. You're telling me I can't know how far away my LTL shipment is that I paid $10,000 for? It's kind of crazy. But that's a great example of how the carriers have to give us that data. As a brokerage, we're not the ones actually hauling the shipment.
But why is it, Nick, that they don't get the data? There's, things like satellite imagery, RFID tracking. There's all sorts of technology out there to track these shipments. Is it that just that's not in place yet?
Old processes. It could be any number of things. I've actually heard from people that they don't want to raise the expectations too high. Because if you raise the expectations and you put tracking on some of your trucks, then they'll expect real-time tracking on every shipment. God forbid that we actually get real-time tracking on every shipment. But it's old people, old processes, and lack of wanting to invest in technology.
In focusing on value as a strategic move, in freeing up your people to deliver that value to the customers instead of working on historical manual processes, for example, have there been any challenges in how you've structured your business to focus on that value?
For sure. I would say there's been a balance of trying to test out new tech and new AI, but then also making sure it's actually the right step that can automate and save time. Because sometimes when you go into automations or AI, you end up spending more time chasing a rabbit that doesn't exist rather than just doing the work that's in front of you. And I've had quite a few of those situations where we're trying to automate something, but then it turns out it actually wasn't the right move to try and automate it. And I'm a technologist. I love AI. I love technology. But at the end of the day, it has limitations too, at least currently. Someday it won't have limitations, but that's where we're at right now. So I kind of try and focus on one of two things. I feel like it boils down to a few things as far as what I'm going to implement technology on. Number one, is it a big, meaty problem? Is it like a massive drain of time or energy? And if so, that's a pretty good candidate that there is some way you can apply AI to make that better. But then the other side of it is it super easy to implement? It might not be a big, meaty problem, but if it's super easy to implement, it can still be worthwhile. And I'll give you an example of both of those. So on the big, meaty problem one, we've been getting so much LTL business lately that basically every time an LTL deal comes in, it's not like a truckload deal where you just quote a load and then you move it and cool, you move on. For LTL deals, typically we're having a client send us data and we're analyzing their last 30 days of spend. How can we save them money, and how does our offering stack up against what they have now? And how do we fit into that ecosystem? How can we save them money? How can we increase their service? All that stuff. So it's a full analysis. And when we do that, it takes a lot of time and to analyze a whole deal in all these different ways of how we can help them save money or increase service. And I started trying to automate that process with AI. It kind of worked, but then once I got to the second or third analysis, it was like, that's too different from the first one. Like AI doesn't know how to do this, and I would have to train it for every different type of analysis. And the customer's data comes in so differently. There's like a million reasons why using AI to analyze that data is tough. But instead of using AI, I used a template. So I just have a Google Sheets template now, and I pre-built in all the analysis in all the different ways, and I just plug in the customer's data. We put our quotes in, and then it like all the analysis already there and done. Very simple solution. Thousands of people have already done this. This is not radically new a process to have a Google Sheet template. But it turns out that was the way to go. It's light years better than what I was trying to do with the AI. Just wasn't the way to go for that specific problem. Big, meaty problem, but AI wasn't the answer. It just needed a template. That's all it needed. And then on the other side of things, on the easy to implement side, we have a pretty diverse team, all different backgrounds, ages, styles.
Sure.
And everybody's got their own vibe. One thing that's hard in logistics is responding to customer inquiries
Yep.
politely and respectfully and with the right tone, even if a customer's kind of pissing you off. It's not something that people typically like to talk about, but customers can be super frustrating and the
Sure.
customer's always right. Yes, I know, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we're humans.
Sure.
If somebody says something that frustrates you, it's very hard to just throw that in the back of your mind and then say it super politely.
Clearly.
And so the nice thing is everybody has a per my last email that they wish they could take back. But the nice thing is in our system, we use an email system called Front. And in that system, if you pay for the AI add-on, then you can, with one click, you can write an email. And then with one click, you can change the tone to friendly or professional or concise. And that was one sweet. All I have to do is pay monthly and then this problem is now solved. It's just a click on any email that you can do. And that was not like the biggest problem in our company. That was definitely not the big meaty problem I was shooting to solve, but it's so easy to solve that it was worth it.
Do you have metrics to track the impact of these things?
We don't have CSAT scores right now. I would like to, but Front is going to be implementing another AI solution for Q. Basically, it scans all of your emails all the time and gives you a QA breakdown by employee of how people are doing in their responses. Did they solve the customer's problem? Did they respond promptly? Like all of the things that go into the quality of an email. And then it gives you a score across all your employees. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if it'll apply to us for sure. But it kind of talks to your point about like actually measuring what the impact of that would have been.
I mean, to your point earlier, I mean, you mentioned it was a great example where you said, we were trying to apply AI and then it wasn't the right fit. So you made the Google Sheet and that has a better output solution to the challenge that you face. Be interesting to know whether it's measurement of the output could then inform whatever the technology that you're using or whether you're using AI or not as an outcome.
I will say that, so we're only a 3.5-year-old company. In respects to data and measuring outputs, we are not super advanced in that area yet. There are plenty of things I do measure as far as basic KPIs, but I would say we're not super advanced on measurement yet.
Okay, interesting. And Pinnacle, what are your milestones for the next year with the growth perspective? Are you scaling up? Are you looking at different geographies? What's the plan?
Right now, we're very mode focused. We're shifting into a model instead of cold calling and cold emailing and just blasting people's inboxes and phones like most freight brokerages do. Currently in the process, we're shifting more towards free content and just putting out content to help shippers and attract them to us, but then also from a marketing perspective and just getting the right ads in front of the right people at the right time. We're working on changing our customer acquisition to a pull strategy instead of a push, as far as pulling people towards us instead of just blasting the phones and emails. That's kind of our growth strategy right now. And then we're really doubling down on LTL as a mode of transportation and multi-stop truckload, which is related to LTL because sometimes you're taking LTL and turning it into a multi-stop truckload. Those are kind of our plans for growth right now.
Okay. And I guess 12 months is a long time with the way the technology is advancing. But if you had, say, with the benefit of hindsight and the ability to go back 12 months, if you had a time machine, for example, would there be anything you'd do differently? Any sort of adoption of technology or different approach, say, to cold outreach that you would adopt?
I don't think so from an AI or technology standpoint.
Or anything else?
I think from a technology standpoint, I feel pretty good about where we're at and where we've gotten to. I think it would have been a real missed opportunity had we not started developing software. For most freight brokerages our size, they definitely don't have a software developer on staff and they're not developing any of their own software. They're just buying it off the shelf and doing what they can do there.
Yeah.
And we do have our own software developer in-house. And we actually developed an app for LTL shippers where it automates their dock processes to remove human error from the LTL shipping process. And so we were able to do that with one in-house developer over the last 8 months. And we've already signed a couple of partnerships and we've got a lot of really good things going there with that. We actually had our first beta customer who did 6 months of using the app, and the number of surprise charges that they had after the fact went down by 67%. Basically, it's helping people remove human error from the LTL shipping process, which gets them a more accurate quote up front instead of getting surprised later with a quote because their DIMS or their weight were incorrect.
Interesting. So are you expanding your revenue streams? Are you looking to license that out as technology?
No, it's the opposite. So that we developed that, but it's 100% free. So not just for our clients, like somebody doesn't have to work with us in order to use it. What I was going to say is that had I not done that 8 months ago, then yes, my answer would have been, I regret not getting into software development sooner. But it's really wild what you can build with just one developer and some AI now.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how cheap and easy software is becoming to develop.
I agree 100%. And it's the kind of dynamic that's changing global economies and the way that AI is able to develop software these days. Countries that rely on that kind of capability maybe need to reconsider.
Yeah. Have you ever used Replit?
No.
It's this cool AI coding software where you just type in what you want it to make and then it makes it. It's crazy. For an actual developer, I would say it's probably not the most useful thing in the world. Our developers played around with it a little bit, but it's not super useful. But it is pretty crazy. Like just regular Joe Schmo can go in here and type in what they want, and they could make an app for their everyday life if they wanted to. That's a really good illustration, though, of how accessible software development is becoming. You know, you used to have to go to school for years just to make a basic app. And now, I mean, you could make an app in a few minutes if you wanted to. Is it going to be an enterprise level app with security and stuff? No, of course not. But it's pretty crazy that you can make stuff just by talking to it.
No, it is amazing. That's really interesting. What are your plans for the coming year, Nick?
I think a big part of it is the app we developed, as well as some partnerships we developed. A big part of LTL shipping is those surprise charges that come later. And the reason why there's surprise charges that come later, or at least one of the big reasons, is because shippers who ship out LTL, and when I say LTL, like 1 or 2 pallets at a time, versus like a whole truckload, it would just be 1 or 2 pallets at a time. When they do that, they have to measure and weigh the pallets, and then they get a quote based on that measurement and weight.
Right.
Well, then once the carrier, the trucking company picks it up, now the trucking company is also going to measure it and weigh it. And then if those two don't match, they're going to charge more. And the problem is that LTL shippers are using a tape measure and handwriting it down. And that's like if we're lucky. Some of them don't even weigh it. They just add up the estimated weight and they're like, it's about 2,000 pounds. These 4 items are 500 pounds each. So that's about 2,000 pounds. And then
I can see arguments.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, it's 40 by 48 by 48. They're always 48 inches high, but sometimes they're 52 and sometimes they're 46. They're using a lot of estimations over here on the shipper side. The problem is on the trucking company side, they are not using estimations. They have machines with lidars and lasers from aerial cameras that immediately capture the dimensions and weight of every single pallet that comes in the door. And then imagine that. You mean the automatically captured dimensions and weight from lasers is going to be a little bit different than the human with a tape measure and estimating? Well, yeah, of course, those are going to be different answers. And so what we're doing is we developed that app, but then we're also integrating that app with dimensioners. We have a handheld dimensioner that automatically dimensions the product just by taking pictures of it.
Is that computer vision or is that some other technology?
You know, I don't know because we partnered with them so that I didn't have to make it. I don't want to have to make it. They make it.
That sounds hard.
And it works great. I know that part. And so instead of John in the warehouse taking his tape measure out and writing it down on a piece of paper, he just takes a few pictures and then all the correct data shoots to the office so that they can get the load booked. And it's with the dimensioner, and we actually have a program where we will buy a dimensioner for the customer and we'll buy a scale for the customer. Even though we're just the logistics provider just shipping their goods from point A to point B, we'll actually buy them the equipment for them that they need in order to accurately get the weight and dimensions up front so that they don't get a bigger charge on the back end.
That's really cool.
And basically, we're taking our budget that we would use for a big sales team and instead putting that into the offers where we buy the equipment for the shippers and then also put it into marketing to let people know about that offer. Because if people don't know, then they can't take us up on it.
It's a really, really good idea.
That's kind of the plan for the coming year is spend the money on the customers instead of spending the money on a massive sales team.
Makes a lot of sense. A lot of customers will be pleased to hear that, I'm sure.
I hope so.
For those customers and others listening to the podcast, Nick, if they want to look up where they can get some information on Pinnacle, where can they go for that?
Our website's pinnacleteam.com. If you go on LinkedIn, we're Pinnacle Logistics with the gold little mountain logo. And then if you want the free app, it's at ltlflow.com. But that won't take you to working with us. That's just a free app you're welcome to use.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Well, we'll make sure we include those links in the description to this podcast. Really fascinating. Thank you very much for your input and insights. And thank you to everybody for joining today. And we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Thanks,
Awesome.
Nick.
Thanks, Adrian.